There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and admit those folks that are still coming in. And welcome, everybody, to our final presentation of this series of Making Sense of Sense for this spring. My name is Brooke. I am a program coordinator here at Alzheimer's Services. I did want to just invite anybody, if you have any questions or if you're having challenges in caring for your loved one with dementia, or if you are needing support, I invite you to please call our helpline. We are so happy to assist you and provide resources for you. I will put in our chat the helpline number. That's just our regular office number. Myself, Sherelle, and Ellen are usually the people that answer the phone, and we're so happy to talk with you about any challenges that you're having. I also wanted to extend an invitation to our TLC this Friday. It is a Fun in the Sun theme. It's going to be at our Baton Rouge office from 11 to 1. And essentially what a TLC is it is lunch and music and dancing in a dementia friendly environment, perfect for your loved one with dementia and you as a caregiver to just come enjoy some happy time for a couple of hours. So that's this Friday. I'm going to send a flyer for that in our follow-up email. And then also, I just wanted to invite you to check out our current events calendar on our website, alzbr.org. You can always see all of the things that we have going on over here because we are busy. Just some housekeeping before our presentation gets started today. You will remain muted throughout the whole presentation. So if you have any questions or comments throughout the presentation, just put them in the chat box and we'll read them out. And then we will be recording this presentation for today, and we will be posting it on our YouTube channel afterwards. I can also put a link of that in our chat box. And for following the presentation, I will send a evaluation out to everybody in their email. And for those who have completed all 3 presentations of this series, I'll email you separately a list of the participating elder law attorneys who will provide you a free consultation. Again, if y'all have any questions about any of that, just email me or message me. I'm happy to help you. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenter today. Her name is Miss Martha Carol Stewart. Whenever I first spoke with her, she actually cheekily introduced herself as the Southern Martha Stewart because her name is Martha Carol Stewart, which I think is just so funny and quite fitting for the line of work that she has found herself in. She is a former teacher, an active community volunteer, a mother, an author, and most relevant to today's topic, she is the founder and CEO of Chaos Organizing, which is a professional organizing company. She has a lifetime, sorry, I'm just muting some folks. She has a lifetime of experience living in a busy home full of siblings, parents, and aging grandparents. She uses her gift of organization to help families save time, enjoy less stress, and increase the quality of their relationships, which of course, these things are priceless when it comes to the dynamics of dementia caregiving. So I am thrilled to invite Ms. Martha Carol to join us today and present on a really cool topic. So Ms. Martha Carol, I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm glad that you're here and so glad to meet you. And I'm going to get my screen where I can see. The topic that we're talking about today is called Navigating Chaos because it tends to be a little chaotic. Downsizing strategies for the memory challenged. The first thing I'm going to do is hopefully I am going to tell you a little bit about myself. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see there's my family. My daughter just got married. And you'll see my team, my organizing team. And then on the bottom right part of your screen, you'll see the book that I wrote called Southern Chaos, Organizing the Southern Home. And a little bit about me. I'm the mother of 2. And my youngest, oh, y'all, just finished college. I am an old lady with two grown kids. I started this business, as Brooke said, after teaching for 13 years. And I just saw a need for families in chaos and families that were stressed out. Children were arriving to school crying, parents were crying, and I knew that I had answers that would help people. And so that's why I started this business. And it's been we just hit our 11th year. My book came out in November. I co-wrote the book with a sorority sister of mine, Lisa Clement, and that's a whole story in itself. But we'll get started because I know that your time is valuable, and I appreciate you all being here. All right, first of all, we're going to talk about understanding the mindset. When you're downsizing the memory challenged or the elderly, depending on why you're here, it's important that you understand their mindset so it makes it less of a tug of war. Your loved one is wanting to share their lifetime of wisdom, their experiences. They are possibly contemplating their life's purpose and their legacy that they will leave behind. If you think about it, and I'm 53 years old, and already you think, what if my children learn from me? What has my siblings learned from me? What kind of legacy am I leaving behind? And I don't mean legacy in the famous type legacy, but even the legacy within your own family. Like what are you leaving behind? What are people going to say about you far after you're gone? And that's part of the mindset when you start to downsize them that they're going through. They want to pass along what they have learned, and they are basically reflecting on what their purpose was here in life. Okay. Their home holds a lifetime of memories. So one thing that I'm going through as a mom is my two. I have one, as you saw, one daughter that got married and one son that's heading off to college. And I have passed these boxes to them of items that that I think that are important to them. And what I'm finding out is they are not. But all these things, all these memories are my memories. They don't remember their things at 2 and 3. Those are my memories. So it's really important. Let me go back. It's really important that you realize that their home, these objects, even though they're objects to you, these are memories to them. And they've been diagnosed now with Alzheimer's or dementia. And so they're also afraid of losing these memories. If they don't have that coffee cup, if they don't have this thing, they're going to forget that memory. And that's terrifying and for them. Sharing stories when we are working with our memory challenged clients, the best thing that I do for them is listen. They want to tell the story of how this chip got in this dish and how funny it was and all these stories. It's a crucial time for them, and telling those stories is a way for them to move on. Listening for me or your family member, anybody who's there with them doing this process, that's a significant role that you play. Those objects hold the memories, and that is really important. Some things to keep in mind: they need a sense of control. They're feeling out of control. Everybody's telling them what to do. Their doctor, their family member, everybody wants to give them an agenda. It's really important that you give them a sense of control so that they feel like there's a little bit of just autonomy and respect to their things. Perspective is important. A lot of times we'll talk about you're not giving your stuff away. You're not throwing your stuff away because that sounds so terrible in their mind. Like they worked really hard to have these things. Sometimes we use liquidate. It's a better word. We're liquidating to be able to have you in the care that you're going to be best fit in. We're liquidating your assets just to be able to keep you in a place where you're safe and comfortable. So that keep that perspective in mind when you're talking to people. Another thing is effective communication is vital, and we're going to touch on that a little bit more about how my organizers talk to the clients, how I talk to the clients, and we're going to give you some examples of effective communication that might help you along the way. Okay. All right. These are the effective. I didn't realize it was the very next slide. We empower our clients, and you can empower your family member by using language that gives them control. 2 communication strategies that I used in my classroom, I used them with my children, and I use them with my clients is if, then, or choose to. So one of the things that we will do is say, you know, if you have 4 white shirts, then you can choose the 2 best ones, or let's just choose the best ones. If then, if you have 45 coffee mugs from all your adventures, then let's take pictures of them so you can remember the adventures, but pick your 2 favorites. And choosing 2 is easier than pick your favorite, because for some reason 2 is a magic number with them. They don't feel like they're getting rid of it all if they can take 2 instead of 1. I don't know why, but that is just really important. And the next strategy is called choose 2. So you have a lot of coffee mugs, so let's choose 2. You have a lot of white button downs, let's choose the best 2. So choosing 2 is a huge way to really empower them, because you're giving them the choice. The if then gives them the choice, but it also lets them narrow it down. Okay, this is the really hard one that I see a lot of my clients' children struggling with is you're busy. You work, your husband works, or your wife works, your children are working. Nobody has time to do this. And this is a very time sensitive process, but it's important for you to let them set the pace. If you go in there like a bull in a china shop and say, we got to do this, and push them that urgency, you're going to make them feel frustrated, and you're going to end up with a big struggle on your hands. It's not personal that they're moving slow. Again, going back to that first slide, their stuff, this is their memories, this is their last time. They need to be able to reflect on their life before they leave this life in this home. This is why sometimes it helps to bring in an outside assistance. This is why people will hire my company, because it takes the power struggle out. And sometimes the power struggle is, you're my child and you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm the parent, and they still want that control. So sometimes bringing in that outside source really allows them to have that conversation with somebody else. And I'll tell you a little story about that. We were hired to help someone in Texas, and we got there, we opened the door, and she is sobbing, and she was so upset. And she said, I don't want you here. My children hired you. I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to move. This is my happy place. This is my home. And everybody's making me do all this stuff I don't want to do. And I looked at her and I said, Miss Mary Ann, we will not throw away one thing, not even a gum wrapper, without your permission. It is your stuff. You have control of this process, so you get to decide what stays and what goes and what you want to bring with us. Well, her whole body language changed. She turned into, by the time 3 days later that we had finished going through her things, she said, okay, now y'all are coming to my new place to unpack me, right? And wanted us there to unpack her because it took all the pressure off. All she was doing was fighting with her children because they wanted to hurry up and get through it. And Mom, you don't need this. Mom, you don't need that. And being told you don't need something without that proper time for them to reflect and tell the stories, frustrates them, and you're going to end up in a bigger power struggle. So where do you begin? And this is always the hardest part, and it's overwhelming, especially if your family member has been in their house for 40 something years. Where do you start? It's hard to know. You start with planning, and planning comes with time management. You want to prioritize, and I say completing tasks efficiently. You want to start small. You want to start small in small amounts of time and within a time frame. So mom, dad, we're gonna go through your upper kitchen cabinets, and we're gonna spend 30 minutes just really going through and deciding what you want to take. Maybe you don't decide whether you're going to keep or toss or donate anything, but you can start with that. I always say that you need to start in a place that is non-emotional. So the kitchen usually is a great place. There's not a lot of emotion with appliances or things like that for most people. So you can even start saying, okay, mom, we're going to spend 15 minutes going through your kitchen and tossing anything that is broken or doesn't work. Those types of conversation really, it sets a time limit, and it makes the task feel doable and easier to swallow. Regular breaks are important. They need to rest. This is a lot of emotion. Going through all these memories is exhausting. So incorporate regular breaks, do something fun in between, sit and look at photos in between your downsizing, but make sure that there's regular breaks, and make sure they're eating. That's the other thing. Eating and drinking is really important. And allow them time to process their emotions. When you get to the emotional pieces, the artwork, the photos that they're taking down off their walls, it really slows everything down, and they need time to process that and think about that. And it's, maybe you go take a break while you say, mom, again, you've got a wall full of photos in your place. Let's just choose 2 of these with the most people in it, and I'll take the rest out the frames and we'll put them in a photo book. And then let them process that. Give them time. Okay, task breakdown. So now we've talked about the emotions, we talked about the mindset. Now we're going to talk about the actual task. So here's the choices. Discard or toss, and I don't use toss when we're working with clients, especially the elderly, because that automatically says to them, I'm throwing my things away. And even if it's a broken dish, for some reason they've hung up onto it, and that makes it harder. So we're talking about discarding items that they're going to keep and take with them, items that they're going to donate, and items they're going to sell or you're going to sell, and then the undecided. And there's always an undecided category, because if you have an undecided category, you can keep the flow going, and just say, you know what, we can revisit that at the end. Okay, first of all, toss the trash. And by tossing the trash, I mean, we're talking about papers that they no longer need, receipts they no longer need, anything that's trash, broken dishes, appliances that don't work, anything that cannot be donated, cannot be sold, and they are not taking with them, that would be trash. And y'all can ask me questions at the end, since I can't see the comments right now, but we'll talk about these things. Okay, keep. Here's the biggest thing. Okay, painter's tape is amazing. You can put it on the underside of furniture. You can put it on the backs of furniture. Anything that they are taking with them, designate a color of the painter's tape and put that painter's tape on the things that are going with them, the large pieces. If you have family members that things are going to, you can use a different color for each family member, such as I have a son and a daughter. I could choose blue for my son, green for things that are going with me, and yellow for my daughter. And that way, as things leave the house, everybody knows exactly where it's going. Keep in mind when you're talking to your loved one, it needs to be items they either need or they absolutely love and just can't live without. And sometimes that love is something that you might deem ridiculous or silly, but it's something so important to them. I had one client who, it was an old stuffed bunny, and that bunny had been her mother's and then hers, and then her memories were the bunny being held by her children, and and it was an old stuffed bunny. It was nothing significant, but it was just really personal to them, and they wanted to take it. So need or love, that's what gets kept. Put labeling a box for each recipient of items for the items being passed down. So, such as I have a son and daughter, I would have my son's name on a box and my daughter's name on a box. So as we're going through items, when they say, "Oh my gosh, the fishing reels, yes," they're not using them anymore, but they have so many memories and they don't want to just throw them away. Why don't you, give so and so those fishing reels? He's a fisherman, and you know what? Take them when they say that, because there's so many memories. It's so hard on them to donate that item or trash that item. And I will tell the family, if they want to give you something that's important to them, take it. You don't have to keep it, but let them know you're taking it. By you taking it, that eliminates that struggle, and it gives them excitement and joy that you're going to have something that they pass down. Okay, what can be donated? All right, here we go. What should you donate and what should you not donate? Okay, things that you should not donate: underwear, clothing with holes or damaged beyond repair, or even just damaged at all, because nobody's going to be there to repair it. Any baby items, not that you're clearing out a lot of baby items, but they won't take anything that a baby sits in or lays in. Books are iffy, depending on where you're donating. We donate to Purple Cow and to Attic Trash and Treasure. Attic Trash and Treasure does not take books, but Purple Cow does. So you're going to need to know where you're donating these items. Anything broken, damaged, doesn't work, those sorts of things you should not donate, and those items should be tossed. You can donate furniture, you can donate appliances, you can donate dishes, pretty much everything else. No hazardous materials, things like that. We can get more into this at the end when y'all can ask questions. Okay. Questions to ask when you're donating. What do they take? As I touched on this, some take books, some don't. Some take mattresses, some don't. Ask if they'll pick up. There are a lot of places, if you're donating large pieces of furniture, that they can set up an appointment to pick those items up and make your life a whole lot easier. Okay, fun fact: some organizing companies drop off donations for you. Many of the organizing companies here in town will take donations in their car, not necessarily large pieces of furniture, but if they're boxes of things, and they'll drop them off for you. So that's part of the organizing company process. We do that all the time. That way you're not driving around with it for 3 months in the back of your car and having to look up where to go and what to do. Okay, sell. Okay, that's the fun part. A lot of people say, okay, well, these items are valuable and I want to sell them. Okay, let's talk about, if you hire an organizer, they most will refer you to someone for an estate sale or selling any of those things. And the reason is it's a conflict of interest. I could convince you to get rid of something for value and sell it and then take a commission on that. You see my point? There's a conflict of interest there. So it's easier, it's more ethical for them to hire an outside source. And that is what my company does. We will hire an estate sale company to come in and take over if the family wants that. Sometimes the family wants to do it themselves. The difference between a garage sale versus an estate sale, let's see, is garage sales are typically when you're cleaning out a closet, you're cleaning out a storage room. Estate sales are when it's the whole house. Either way, if you're going to do one of these yourself, don't donate anything, because people will take half-used bottles of vinegar. They will buy those. They will buy they will buy everything. It's amazing to me. Again, you want to toss things like old underwear or broken or dirty things, but that's the difference between garage sale and estate sale. Estate sale, they're coming in to buy whatever is not a keep item, and something that you want to get rid of. I wouldn't donate anything if an estate sale is on your radar. Questions to ask about doing a garage sale or an estate sale. Is it worth the time you will spend? Because it is very time consuming. You have to price everything. You're looking up values of everything. If you're doing it yourself, it's just very time and task centered. So you have to decide if that's worth the money that you're going to get for it. An estate sale, if you decide to hire somebody, the pros is less work. They'll price everything. They typically know the value of things. If not, they will call in an appraiser to appraise things. So it's less work for you. And the con is they take a percentage of the sale. So that's up to you on which way you want to go with that. Is it valuable? A lot of times I will have clients who are downsizing that will say, oh, well, we need to sell this. We need to find a place to sell this antique. It is so valuable. I paid a lot of money for it. So typically, unless an antique is rare, it doesn't matter how old it is. If it's rare, it is valuable. If it is not rare, then it's probably not very valuable and you're not going to get as much as you think. One thing that I deal with quite often is when people say, oh my gosh, I paid so much for that armoire. It was such a big investment. I know that it's worth a lot of money, but value of something and what the person thinks it's worth are two different things. And so then they go and they get an appraisal from an antique dealer, and they find out it's worth far less than they realize. And that happens in almost every downsizing situation I have ever been in. So if you feel like something is of value, it is worth it to call in an appraiser yourself and see, because most things are not worth or as valuable as people think they are. You want to get a certified appraiser accredited by the American Society of Appraisers. That's real important. And age doesn't equal value. And sometimes eBay, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, those are easier places to sell things and just handle it from there. Also, family history. So this is something I often encounter, that family history of this item that their great-great-great-grandmother carried across on a boat when she came to America, and we've got to save that. It's got so much family history. They get it appraised and they realize it was made centuries after they were told it was made, and it was made in America. So just remember, family history is usually wrong. So you want to investigate that. And eBay, Craigslist, if you put these items on and look up these items on eBay, Craigslist, you can even Google items. you'll be able to find out more about whether it's valuable or not in those places. Remember, the goal here is to liquidate, not downsize, not get rid of things, not sell things, not toss things, liquidate. That word, for some reason, takes a lot of the pressure. And in the end, it's just stuff. It's just stuff. All right, let's keep going. The undecided zone, key. If they are stuck on an item, this was my great grandmother's, nobody wants it, I don't know what to do with it. Make an undecided zone, put it in an area where they can revisit that later. Most of the time, they will let those items go. And sometimes they decide to keep them, but give them time to process that for themselves and look through those things. One of the biggest things I tell my clients is the stuff has to fit the space. So I will use that choose too. Your space that you're moving in is really small and your bookcase is only this big. So would you rather these two items or these two items? And then let them choose. Giving them choices gives them power. That's really, really important. Remember, your goal is to liquidate. I got ahead of myself. All right, and now you're ready to go. So now I'm going to answer y'all's questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but I would like you to follow us. In the bottom left-hand corner, we are on Instagram and Facebook as Chaos Organizing. We're also on Pinterest. And if you want to look up my company, my website is chaosorganizing.com. My name is Martha Carol Stewart, and I'm happy if y'all need questions answered after this. I am happy to answer your questions. Just email me, and my phone number is on the website, and you can call me and leave a message, and I'll call you back. So no problem. I'm going to stop sharing so we can start asking questions.
Thank you so much. And thank you for such like a nice overview over, it kind of broke down the process of like, it seems like a mountain to some people of, oh my gosh, I need to figure out all of these things about a person's home and their whole life that is collected within a home. It does seem like a daunting task. And you kind of broke it down a little bit easier of how to go about that.
Well, and it is a daunting task. And then it's a daunting task that typically when we go in a family member's home to do this, our time is limited. So we want to rush them and say, come on, we got to go. We got to get through this. It's not our stuff. So it's easy to rush them. And when you rush them, you're going to find that they're going to fight you a whole lot more. They need this time. They need the time to process. They need the time to tell their stories. They need you to listen to them. All of that is so important. If you're not in a hurry and you don't have a deadline, this process can take months of, all right, you know what? Let's look in your kitchen and decide on these things. Now let's look in your closet. What are you wearing now? Have you changed sizes? Those kind of questions make things so much easier for them when you are not getting rid of the things that they're using and loving. If you say, well, you've lost 30 pounds, you're not in the 2X anymore. Let's get all the 2Xs out and then see what you're wearing out of what's left. And so that process is a little slower, but also really, really helpful and gives them so much more control, and they won't fight you as much.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Always, allowing a person autonomy and just instilling their dignity. And that is so important, especially with folks with dementia, but really anybody. So important. We just got a comment, and the comments are open now if y'all wanted to put any questions within the chat box. One person said books can be donated at the East Baton Rouge Public Library for the Friends of the Library monthly book sale. I didn't know that. I am a book person. I'm a bookworm, so I'll have to thank you.
So Brooke's now going to the book sale. Thank you, Rachel. I love that. I love that.
I have some questions too, just as we're waiting on other questions to
Okay.
come in. What are some examples of times when people downsize?
Times when people downsize. So there are a lot of empty nesters like myself who say, okay, I have a 5-bedroom house and now I want to, my kids are gone. They've started their own families. It's time for us to move down to a 2-bedroom or a 3-bed, something smaller, more maintainable. For my husband and I, it's about, we want to travel. I don't want to take the time to maintain my house and maintain my yard and all those things. So he and I've been discussing about downsizing, and I'm 53. So I mean, there's lots of times. That's just one example. Another time is if one of the family members, so as if my husband and I, if one of us were sick or one of us has dementia or what, and we need to be in a place that's safer or where we can get help. I think that's important too. Moving, my parents ended up, my dad was having some health issues and they moved to a condo where there's more friends and more people around them. So if something happens, my mom can get help quickly versus being isolated in their house where she's having to call somebody and she needs somebody to be able to get there right away. You'll see people going to condos or townhouses for that type of situation, or even downsizing into a memory care unit or um, I'm drawing a blank.
Assisted living. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Any type of
Assisted
just like
living.
a care facility. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes. So there's
absolutely.
lots of those situations. We have downsized without people moving as well. When just recently, a couple of weeks ago, we had a client who fell and broke her leg. And so now she was in a wheelchair and a walker, but she couldn't get around her space because they had lived in this house for 50 years and she saved everything. And so we went and downsized them so that they could stay in their own place and function in their own place. So we've done things like that too. There's lots of those types of situations. Um,
Yeah,
so
just making the environment safer too
keeping
to
the environment
accommodate their current needs. Yeah,
and
yeah.
and any there's always situations where the children call us and say, I need help with my parents. And we need to be the neutral party. So that's what I mean by hiring an outside company. Sometimes this helps with the tug of war because in their mind, you're still 10 years old and they don't want to be told what to do by their children. So you'll end up sometimes in a power struggle because of that situation.
Okay. Okay. No, great examples. Okay, another question that I have, you briefly touched on this a second, but what are some estimated timelines of, let's say, my grandmother is needing to move to a care facility, and I am tasked with helping her gather up all of her furniture that we will bring there. What is like an average timeline of what that would take?
To gather the things and decide what is keeping, typically it's a week for us. And the reason is because we don't work our normal long day sessions for that. We have to break it up into smaller sections. So we like to break it up into 2.5 hour sections. And we kind of use the client to gauge, like, if they eat lunch, can they go again? Most for elderly patients, they like to nap in the afternoons. So we'll go in, 9, 10 o'clock, and we'll work up to lunch and do that. But it takes about a week just for them to process what they want to keep. A lot of times we're working with the children and with the family members. And so they'll say, as I talked about with the fishing reels, they'll say, oh, this needs to go to so and so. And the family member is helping us box up stuff. Now, I will tell you this, there are family members who box up stuff to take to Susan, and Susan's box, as it comes out the house, goes straight into my card to donate. But it sounds sneaky, but it gives them so much peace to be able to say they're passing those things down versus giving it away. They really struggle with giving it away. Now, we do use verbiage such as, You know, you're blessing so many people with these things. There are so many people that couldn't afford your nice things that are going to be able to have these things. How wonderful. And we'll use that a lot. Um, and and it it works with women mostly. Men don't care. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny the difference. They're like, I don't care where it goes. But with women, they really like to know that that's it's their legacy, it's their memories being passed down, and
And
those
that's
items
important.
it is important.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more important I realize, and the more I see that perspective. Because, like I said, even my son's soccer medals, all these soccer medals, he played soccer until 12th grade. I pull out these soccer medals, and I'm like, "Look, and he goes, "Why did you save those?" And I'm like,
What was I supposed to do with it?
crushed. I'm crushed. I'm like, do you know how many weekends we spent on a soccer field outside of this town? So I turned them into ornaments, and now I hang them on the tree.
Oh, that's
but
great.
but it made me realize, those moments in my own life, and my organizers are both over 50, so they're also having the same sentimental issues. But it makes you realize in our lives how valuable something is to us that's not really a valuable item. It just holds so many great memories, and it's hard to let those things go. And I handed him some things. He just graduated from college, and I handed him some things, and again got the "why did you save this?" And I said, I can't throw it away, but you can. And for some reason it's easy. Like, I watched him put it in the trash can, but I could not do it. So I get that tug of war on the other side too, of those are my memories, those are not their memories, they're not your memories. Your grandmother may remember that a certain blanket that you used to lay on every time you came to her house when your daughter, when her mom, her daughter brought you over, and this was your quilt. She can't get rid of that. That's so hard. There's so much emotional attachment, so with
Hmm.
those memories. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know
and that is also really important, especially for people with dementia that may not be able to understand or verbalize some of their emotions and feelings, is to recognize which items around their home, which physical items around their home do provide that comfort. And to recognize that, because probably that blanket going with them to a care facility will mean so much more to them than a lamp that they've had for 40 years,
yeah,
or
yeah,
XY. So it is important to recognize the sentimental value that people hold within items. And that goes beyond, having dementia sometimes.
absolutely. And if you watch their face, if you're really in tune with them and you watch their face, you can see their face light up when they, sometimes they'll pick up something, and I'll say, I don't know what that is, but it's going with you, because I've never seen you smile like that through this whole process. It's really obvious what they love and what they don't love, and the memories that come with that. And so that also helps you decide. One woman loved books. She had so many books, but she only had one bookcase where she was going. So we used her bookcase and as a gauge, for a visual gauge of, okay, let's set up this bookcase like it's going to be in your new place. So then she was able to say, oh, I like this book more than that book, so take that one off and let's put this one on. And that visual bookcase gave her a place to make decisions and editing a little better. But that was a long process of taking everything off the bookcase and what was going to go back on. And it's a slow process. It's a slow process.
Yeah.
So
It
it's
takes a lot of patience, I'm sure.
it does. It takes a lot of patience, but it also takes. You can't take it personally. A lot of their own children take a lot of it personally, like they're not being rude to you, they just need you to take a step back and honor their processing
Big
time.
feelings. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you have any advice for long distance caregivers. So I talk to a lot of families that either they live here and their parents who have dementia live out of town, or their parents live here and they live out of town, and then they come into town and realize, oh, this house has gotten so much more disheveled than I thought it was going to be. My mom needs so much more help than I thought. What is your advice for long distance caregivers?
My advice is they need to spend some time there and get them down to what they can maintain. The problem is things get out of hand when let's say they're injured or their memory care, they can't remember to put things away or where they belong. It's really important to less is more in those situations. They need to only have what they can maintain. And
Mhm.
that might mean you taking a lot of their items, let them pass them down to you while they're still in their house. Take some of the things out of there that are causing conflict or causing a mess. You know, most of these people, most of the elderly have been in their house a long time. And so they're used to certain things being certain places. Um, I just had a client who her guest room was all, it was always piled full of stuff because she didn't have the time or the energy. Well, she had the time. She didn't have the energy to put it all away or deal with it. So she would throw it in the guest room. Well, then she got injured and nobody could stay in the guest room because the guest room was such a mess.
Mhm.
So constantly culling while you're there, constantly going through them, you know, anytime you visit, it's time to say, hey, mom, dad, you know, these coffee mugs that we got on the trips, like, can I have some of those and take them with you? Again, it doesn't matter if you keep them or not, but that's one way to call where they're not taking it personally and feeling like you're throwing their things away. Um, it's also, you know, again, also hiring an outside party is very helpful because, you know, let's get you down to what you can maintain. These ladies are here to help you do that.
Yeah.
You know, and the biggest thing I can tell you is promise them that you're not going to throw away things without their permission because they do feel like the children are coming in behind them and, oh, I'm sure they got rid of that. And most of the time they did. And that creates a distrust and makes your job even harder.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, my last question, and if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to put them in our chat box. What are some frequently asked questions that you get?
Mm. Okay, frequently asked questions for downsizing is, well, it depends on if you're the client or you're the client's family member. So the client instantly, I walk in the door, and if a family member's hired us, they are instantly defensive. I love all my stuff. I'm not getting rid of my stuff. And that's why I tell them I'm not going to get rid of anything without your permission. It gives them power back because they feel like people are taking their power. If it's the children, I get asked constantly, why does she need to keep all those things? Why is she hanging on to that? And I'll say, for some reason, she's sentimental of that. Sometimes it's sentimental. Sometimes it's control. Sometimes it might be a pen. And they're going to say, you know what? That's my favorite pen. Don't get rid of it. Well, that's about control. It's because they're feeling out of control and they don't want you come in and telling them what they have to keep and what they have to get rid of.
Mhm.
That control is a huge piece of that. So one of the that would be a question. Why? Why do they need to hang on to these things? Where do I start? And I'll always say start in the least sentimental place, typically the kitchen or laundry room. You can find a lot of trash there, um, which is just easily tossable. And then even in the kitchen, if it's broken dishes, you can get them down, whittled down to just what's good. And now let's go through the good stuff. Clothes typically are sentimental, books are sentimental, photos are sentimental, and tchotchkes collections are sentimental. So those are the things. The other thing I get asked is, where can I sell this? How do I get rid of these things? Can I sell this? And that's what I'm saying. Estate sales are important. Garage sales can be great. eBay, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Those are all great places to sell things. They are time consuming to sell and do those things. So depending on your time limit, you can either hire an outside company to do it, sell them for you, or do it yourself. Be careful that people are not convincing you to get rid of things for the wrong reasons, for the percentage, and not because of, you want to make the decision of whether you're getting rid of it or not somebody else. That's real important. I'm trying to think of any other questions that I get asked, but those are the main
So
questions.
yeah, I think you've covered a lot of probably things that people think about often. I mean, I hear all the time about people needing to downsize or people needing to make their home more safe. And I mean, essentially what that is downsizing, and it is making your environment more supportive of your reality. And so, yeah, I think you touched on a lot of frequently asked questions that I get, and frequently thought about things that a caregiver has to, you know,
Process and deal
to
with.
process and then do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of emotional work. And I think the emotional work is far more exhausting than the physical work. The physical work is hard, but the emotional work of dealing with your family member, watching them go through this process, knowing time is limited for yourself, all of those emotions, and they're exhausting. They're exhausting. And so that's why if you have the time, it's really great to break it up into small doses
Mhm.
and give yourself time and give them time. Mom's
Yeah.
grandchildren did not want any of the pictures or photos, but took the pictures with phone for digital memories. Yes, we do that a lot. We will take photos of things and print them, things that they need to get rid of and shouldn't take with them, but that memory of that item is so important. We will take photos and have them printed at Walgreens and then put them in like a little small Dollar Tree photo album. And they love that because then they can still see the item and flip through that photo album. It's not just photos of people, it's photos of stuffed animals, blankets, a wooden rocking horse, those types of things that they are so afraid to let go of because they're afraid to forget. And that's part of this too, is they're afraid. They're afraid of forgetting those things, so they don't want to let them go. That's but yes, I love that they took the pictures, the grandchildren took the pictures. That's smart. It's
Well, oh,
We're
go ahead.
very lucky to have a digital age where we can do those things.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I don't think we have any more questions. This was very, very helpful. I so appreciate your time and your expertise. I know that you probably take so much of a burden off of families, because this is, downsizing can be really stressful sometimes. So most of the time, probably. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and your talent.
I'm putting
And
my I'm putting my
perfect.
email in the chat. You're welcome to email me with any questions at any time. My name's Martha Carroll. So email me and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have that you think of later.
Thank you. Thank you. We so appreciate your time. And oh, somebody else just have a question. I have a problem getting rid of magazines. Should I not give them, or um, not give them to her when they come in the mail?
That's tough. Um, that's kind of a personal decision of if she's struggling. I have had a client that we organized a lot of magazines. So what we made the deal is anything, and I'd pick a date. If it was older than this amount of time, then we would make a deal and let it go. So you could make that deal with them. Come on, we have more magazines coming in. So let's anything. I mean, when I tell you, we organized somebody who had magazines from 1984. So, and would not get rid of any of the Christmas magazines. Those were off limits completely. And they're not reading them. It's just, again, that might be a little bit of a control thing. But if you navigate, use the choose to make it, maybe it's 2 months. Okay, these are months old, so we're going to let those go and you keep the current ones. If it goes beyond that, then you have to make the decision of whether to maybe you could kill the subscription without her knowing too. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
So
So many
thank you,
great ideas.
thank you, Donna and Cynthia and Rachel for the questions and comments. I appreciate that. It's always helpful to others when you ask questions, for sure.
Absolutely. And to just relate with what common challenges are. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Martha Carroll. I appreciate your time. I'm going to go ahead and end the Zoom chat, but we will have this up on our YouTube channel. So if anybody needs anything or has any questions from us, I'm going to be sending a follow-up email after the presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Brooke.
Thank you for
Thanks,
your time.
everybody.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate y'all coming.
Take care. Bye-bye.